First this hour, let's take you live to Makassar in eastern Indonesia, where the Prime Minister is giving a speech at a local university.
The major cultural festival for First Nations people in Australia. They're painted on their rock, on their bark, their sails forever full with the wind that brought them across the sea. The long relationship between the Macassan seafarers and First Nations people of Australia was built around trade. But what was most striking was that it was built on mutual respect, a relationship of equals. It laid down the foundation stone for the people-to-people contact that is at the very heart of Australia's relationship with the people of Indonesia. The Macassan fishers were the first Muslims to visit Australia, writing the first chapter in the story of all that Muslim people have contributed to our nation. Today there are now over 600,000 Muslims in Australia, and they are a vital and integral part of the rich mosaic of Australian society. They have helped build our nation and are a valued and respected part of the Australian family. And I'm delighted that my new ministry includes 2 Muslim Australians, the first time. I brought one of them with me. Our industry minister, his family came from Bosnia in the 1960s, the first Muslim to serve in an Australian cabinet, but won't be the last. Dr. Anne Ali was born in Egypt. She represents a Western Australian electorate in Perth. She grew up in Australia and then she went to Egypt to study at university before coming home to Australia again. Like Ed, a very distinguished Australian. She has worked at the United Nations. She is an expert in international security issues. Both of them held the Quran as they were sworn in as ministers last week. They were both elected to Parliament from diverse communities, one in Sydney, in Ed's case, in Anne's case in Perth. But a significant point to make here about the nature of Australian society is that for both of them, the Muslim population in their electorates is a very small minority. They receive support from across the Australian community. I take this as really heartening confirmation that we are maturing as a nation. This is the enduring value of Australian multiculturalism and the great spectrum of Australia's religious and cultural diversity. As I said in my first speech to the Parliament, multiculturalism provides Australia with a unique opportunity to be a microcosm for the world, to show that cultural diversity and respect can lead to a more peaceful, equitable and fulfilling life for all. Our embrace of multiculturalism speaks of our deepening sense of ourselves as a nation, which itself goes hand in hand with how we see and project our place in the world. We are part of the most dynamic region in the world, and I see a great opportunity to working closely with our neighbours. It was another Labor Prime Minister, my friend Paul Keating, who once said that the change that was sought was Australia finding security in Asia, not from Asia, a very important distinction. And that holds true for the government that I lead on the question of regional security and the challenge of global climate change. I am ambitious for what Australia can achieve as we confront the challenge of climate change, and I am also ambitious about what we can achieve with our friends and our partners, and I discussed these issues intensely with President Widodo yesterday. Late last year, I put forward my blueprint for tackling climate change. It is a comprehensive response to climate change with economic growth at its heart. It's one that understands that by tackling what is an environmental challenge, we can actually grow jobs and grow our economy in a sustainable way. One of the first steps we will take is to rewire our energy grid so that we can integrate more renewables into our power system. It will ensure that renewables are some 82% of the national energy market by 2030. Our plan will reduce Australia's emissions by 43% by 2030 and ensure we're on track for net zero by 2050. It will attract $52 billion of private sector investment just over those few coming years and will generate 604,000 new jobs by 2030. In doing so, we will provide the certainty and clarity that businesses and investors need. My government sees enormous potential in green hydrogen and will look for opportunities to back green hydrogen projects. For example, in our island state of Tasmania, we will help kickstart a project using solar panels to produce green hydrogen on a commercial scale and eventually create a green hydrogen export market.